And today we are going through lesson 34 in A Course in Miracles. And to keep my daily show time, it was 6:25 a.m. this morning. So I'm on Mountain Time right now. And I go live every day at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And at 6:25 this morning, my alarm goes off for the Knowing Show as I'm putting in my last curler. So I said, oh, shoot. And here we are. So I wanted to keep my time of going live at the same time every morning for moving through A Course in Miracles. So we're just doing this as raw and real as we can. So here we are this morning, February 3rd. Y'all, there are no other February 3rds, 2026s ever. And so I just hope that we all enter into today realizing the gift that it is, even if your hair's in curlers like mine. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into lesson 34. Y'all, I'm so excited for this lesson. Lesson 34, I could see peace instead of this. The idea for today begins to describe the conditions that prevail in other ways of seeing. Peace of mind is clearly an internal matter. It must begin with your own thoughts and then extend outward. It is from your peace of mind that a peaceful perception of the world arises. 3 longer practice periods are required for today's exercises. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening are advised, with an additional one to be undertaken at any time in between that seems most conducive to readiness. All application should be done with your eyes closed. It is your inner world to which the application of today's idea should be made. Some practice periods of mind searching are required for each of the longer practice periods. Some 5 minutes of mind searching are required for each of the longer practice periods. Search your mind for fear thoughts, anxiety-provoking situations, offending personalities or events, or anything else about which you are harboring unloving thoughts. Note them all casually, repeating the idea for today slowly as you watch them arise in your mind, and let each one go to be replaced by the next. If you begin to experience difficulty in thinking of specific subjects, continue to repeat the idea to yourself in an unhurried manner without applying it to anything in particular. Be sure, however, not to make any specific exclusions. The shorter applications are to be frequent and made whenever you feel your peace of mind is threatened in any way. The purpose is to protect yourself from temptation throughout the day. If a specific form of temptation arises in your awareness, the exercise should take this form. I see peace in this situation instead of what I see in it. If the inroads on your peace of mind take the form of a more generalized adverse emotion, such as depression, anxiety, or worry, use the idea in its original form. If you find you need more than one application of today's idea to help you change your mind in any specific context, try to take several minutes and devote them to repeating the idea until you feel some sense of relief. It will help you if you tell yourself specifically, I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry, or my thoughts about a situation, personality, or event with peace. Y'all, I am so excited for today's lesson. Lesson 34, I could see peace instead of this. Y'all, this is what we've been working towards. The last 33 days have been working us towards this moment. And this just makes me excited for what's to come over the next 330 plus days. Y'all, in this time, in this lesson today, and in this time today, we're going to be practicing taking any thought or emotion of depression, anxiety, doubt, fear, and instead replacing it with peace. Y'all, we have the ability to do this. You and I both, each one of us, regardless of our circumstances, we get to choose. I keep repeating this, but it's so worthy of repeating because it is such a poignant example. If Viktor Frankl, the author of Man's Search for Meaning and prisoner of war in the German Nazi concentration camp in Auschwitz, that they cannot take my choice, which is the greatest of all human freedoms in terms of how I respond, we can do the same, regardless of how hard life is. I'm actually going to pull up that quote right now. Viktor Frankl. Okay, let me see if I can find this with ease, and if I can. Yep, here we go. Okay. So, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And there were always choices to make. Every day, every hour offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you become the plaything to circumstance, renouncing freedom and dignity. Y'all, we have the power to choose how we show up today. We have the power to choose peace or to give in to not freedom, but depression and anxiety, fear. And so to that point, the power lies in our choice. What will we choose? And we keep returning to this question of, who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? That's actually a really important question. It's not just who do I want to be? How do we want to show up in the world? But how do I want to feel? And y'all, how we want to feel guides how we inform and make those choices. And so this question of how do you want to feel? Do you actually want peace? Peace is this nice concept until it's threatened. And then we get to choose. Do I actually like playing the victim? Do I like playing the person that gets to point the finger and blame everybody else? Or do I really genuinely want peace? Because here's the thing, if we really want peace, that means that there's a lot that we'll actually have to relinquish control over. And I found this so true to be so true for myself, where frankly, let's say I'm in a relationship with someone and they do something that I don't like. If I want to choose peace, that choice of peace is greater than the choice of vindication, of, getting back at them, or vengeance. That choice of peace has to be a greater want than the want and need to be right. So that's the question that we really have to ask ourselves. Do we want peace, or do we want to feel sad? Do we want to feel angry? Do we want vengeance? Do we want to be proven right? So I think that's the question for us today. We're exchanging peace for something. And is peace a greater exchange? So I'm just going to jump over here in the chat. Good morning, Tim Smith. I'm so glad you're here. Gino, Jason, Jason, that made me laugh. Justin, oh, thank you. Wow. Thank you so much for your encouragement there. I really appreciate it. God bless America, Dante, Eldabo. Why are you reading my name? I'm so sorry that you had a panic attack. You know what's so wild? I had actually a pretty weird dream last night. I didn't wake up from a panic attack, but I feel like I don't know about you, but there was something weird last night. So I'm so sorry that you woke up because of that. And I'm hoping that this is encouraging for you, especially given today's lesson, which is that we get to choose peace. So I feel like it's no surprise that you're here. So welcome. Maurice, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Joe, thank you. Keep up the Knowing podcast. Thank you, Joe. That's so encouraging. Thank you. Justin, every day is so wonderful. Then suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. I'm so ashamed. Justin, thank you so much for saying that and I feel like that's just so brave to share that. I'll say this. I think that those are actually the moments where that's when you're being courageous. It's one thing to live and have life be wonderful and feel like it's wonderful all the time. That's almost easy. But when we start feeling insecure, when we start feeling that pain, when we start feeling the whispers of shame, that's when we put this into practice. This is when the going gets tough, this is when we need to deploy the practice of these lessons of choosing peace, of choosing joy, of moving from fear to love. If it was always easy, then we would never have to practice any of this. It would just be natural. And it's almost like there's no darkness before the dawn. And so I just hope you feel encouraged that in those moments of pain, when we choose and make a choice in that moment, that's actually when we should be most proud of ourselves, because we're choosing to conquer something. And sometimes feeling the pain is just as important as choosing joy. We actually have to feel the pain to get to the other side of it. And a lot of times, actually, I was reading Letting Go 2 days ago, and they were talking about moving through grief. And our body actually can only sustain, once we really lean into the pain of grief, once we really lean into the processing, our body can only sustain a good hearty like 20 minutes of just deep grieving. Like, I think the most it was probably longer than 20 minutes, but I think it's probably not more than an hour, I'm sure, of just like intense suffering and letting out the emotions and weeping. And eventually our body actually tends to itself, and it like self-soothes and calms. And we see this with animals after they've been chased literally to be killed by their predator. The predator thinks that it's dead in its mouth. It lays it down to go get, the rest. Like the lion will lay down the deer and then, or the antelope, and then goes and grabs the rest of its family. The antelope shakes on the ground, kind of like lets all the fear get out and finishes the chase process of running away from the lion, and then gets up and prances off, and it's fine. There's something about moving through the pain that is so important for our physical body. Yesterday, we were talking about getting to know our physical body. And when we have those sensations come up in us, it's so important that we actually feel those so that we can then get to the other side. And in that, there is freedom. So yes, choosing peace, taking up the mantle of choice, and also moving through whatever emotion is there so that we can get to the other side. So Justin, what you said there was so much juxtaposition there, and it was so honest. And I'm so grateful for you sharing that, because that's when it's time to deploy the exercise and the work that we're learning right now. The One Real Greenman, thank you for joining. Good morning from Puerto Rico. Good morning. I was just thinking about Puerto Rico this morning. I went to the Miss World pageant a couple years ago, and I just attended, and it was so fun. And I haven't been there since, but it was beautiful. Lewis, good morning. Awesome, Yash. I'm doing so well. I'm doing really good. I felt a little funny having my hair curlers on, but I'm so grateful that you all don't seem to mind. So I'm so glad. I'm doing really well. My parents, they were here with me over the last couple of days, and I drove them to the airport at 4 this morning. And I'm grateful to be awake and get a lot done today. I think today's the first day of getting back on my 4 a.m. habits of waking up. So I'm feeling good. Shagaboo, good morning. Good to see you. Charles Sherman, thank you for coming on here. Just looking through here, Jeff. Just looking through. Alvin, looking out of my window into the sea, San Francisco Bay Area. I would love, love, love to go to San Francisco. Oh man, I would love to be there. My dad has told me so much about it, and so I want to do a trip with him, actually. All right, so just going down through the chat. Man, El Dabu said I had a crazy long dream last night too. Y'all, I don't know. I don't know what happened last night, but we got some weird dreams going on. Just so you all know, the comments that I'm skipping past, I do see you, and I'm skipping past them because they're just not in alignment with how we talk here on the show. So I'm skipping them. Do you believe this is what Justin says. Do you believe the Lord knows when we're stuck? Golly, I do. I actually believe that he knows every tear we've cried. I believe he knows every time we've really suffered. I believe he knows every time we've had, I call it big T moments, big trauma moments in our lives where we've had significant loss or betrayal or a death or even a job loss, some big capital T moments in our lives, some capital big traumas. And then some little T traumas, those little moments in our lives that were still really painful and really shaped and formed us. And sometimes those little T moments are the ones that we ignore. But I actually think that that's when God is closest to us in our pain and in our suffering. And that's when, frankly, we need to kind of pick up a lesson from him and be close to ourselves and tend to ourselves when we are suffering in those little T moments, in the moments that a lot of times that's where shame is. Shame doesn't tend to accompany the big T moments as much in my experience. They accompany the little T moments, the almost like the like dripping of the faucet, the drip. And it's like the slow paper cut. And people die of 1,000 paper cuts, especially if it's in the same place. that will just do significant damage. Whereas obviously the big T moments are painful. Obviously that's impactful and hurtful. But this is really, those little T moments are the ones that real deep, quiet suffering take place. And I believe that there's just so much compassion in those moments. Alvin, getting ready to go. Oh, crabbing. Oh, how fun. I hope you have the best time. Lewis says, my mom is mad at me, wants me to find a job. I'd love to hear, Lewis, how else you'd rather spend your time. Like, what do you feel called to? What do you want to do? Very Dark Jason, good to see you. Good morning. Sender V, good morning. I'm so glad you're here. Justin, hey everyone, guess what? You're not alone. Oh, I'm so glad. The Lord is always looking down unashamedly, looking over, helping to heal. I love that. It's so, so, so true. And I think that one thing is really important is that think of it as a parent and a child. So let's say there's two little kids and they're both given a task to clean their rooms. And one of them is just kind of lazy, like picking up the toy, looking at it and just kind of tossing it aside, maybe putting it back where it goes. But it's more so just like taking his time playing, kind of being a little lazy. And then there's the other little boy who's working hard and like putting the toys away and being diligent. And then when the first little boy asks for help and he's just like, Mom, I don't know where this goes. Well, of course the mom or dad is going to be, they're willing to help, but they also are going to be like, okay, well, have you really tried? Have you really put in the effort? And then when boy 2 asks for help and they're working hard and they look up with their big bright eyes, like, where does this go? Can you help me? Of course, mom and dad is going to say, like 100%. So mom and dad are willing to help both kids. But when the boys are really applying themselves and really working hard, it's like there's an eagerness and an excitement to help. And I think that there's an element of that with God. It's yes, God is with us, and yes, God helps us, and yes, God is present and near to the brokenhearted. And I have experienced that, man, when I am doing the work and putting in the work to heal and know who I am and know what I'm called to do and apply myself, there's like an additional support, like there's extra backing, so to say. And I think that that's really true. Just like how each one of us would engage with our kids when they're kind of being lazy, flopping around, not really doing what they're supposed to do. It's like, okay, well, yes, I'll help you. And let's get your act together. Let's put the show on the road. And so I think that there's something about that where, and here's the thing, us doing the work may actually look like sleeping if we're in grief. It may actually look like journaling. It may actually look like going to therapy. It may look like going out and beating the streets, pounding the pavement to go look for a job. It might look so different depending on what that season is in our lives. The thing is, no one else can answer that for you. You know. That's why, Lewis, I love this question of like, what do you feel called to? Because our parents, our pastors, our, comrades, colleagues, everyone is telling us how to live. Society is telling us how to live, especially on these devices. How do you feel called? And then there's going to be so much when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, there's so much blessing on that. And that doesn't mean it's easy. There's even, I did this series leading up to Christmas on the 5 habits of Christ. So each day leading up to Christmas, I went through one habit. And there was this one habit where I really leaned into this verse where it says, Jesus was led into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. So us being led means that we actually might be led right into the heart of temptation. And that is so incredibly hard. Yet, just like today's lesson is about, we can still choose peace. And we still can choose alignment with who we want to be and still instill boundaries to keep us safe and boundaries to keep us on the right path. And effectively, like that example of a horse with blinders on, we know exactly where we're going, even if we have to go through temptation, even if we have to go through the pain, we know where we're going. And we also trust that on the other side of that is going to be a lot of joy. And peace can accompany us on the way. We don't have to wait till our final destination to experience peace. We can know that now. And I think that that's one of the most and best things is that we don't have to wait. The process in and of itself is the cultivation. Excuse me. I'm just looking here at the chat. Justin says, do you believe in love after life? Oh, I hope so. But I don't know. I mean, I think it gets I have no idea. But I do believe that I'll see my brother-in-law again one day. That's what I hope. That's what I pray. Um, when peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, it is well with my soul. Man, that just makes me want to take like a deep breath and just breathe in that sigh of relief, you know? Y'all, that's peace, is that when sorrows like sea billows roll, peace is right there with us. And isn't that interesting? I just had this thought, and I've never thought of that song lyric before to this point. So it's almost like peace is the water that we're in, and sorrows may cause some of the waves, but we're in the waters of peace. Even though they might get disrupted by grief, it's still grounded and rooted in this peace that is truly the reservoir of our souls. Interesting. Justin says, is there a way to enjoy dinner with your parents without feeling like you're being taken advantage of? Justin, oh, that's such a hard question. I think it depends so much on who your parents are, your dynamic with them, and also who you are. I was with a friend the other day, and we were with one of his parents, and it was really interesting because it was so evident that he had so much trauma towards his parents. Whereas I don't know. I don't know what happened in childhood. I don't know if she's, his parent is just a completely different person when I'm not there. But it was so evident that that parent had so much power over how my friend showed up, that they actually regard, like, this whole concept of peace, this whole concept of choice is that we are effectively stable and strong and good regardless of what's going on around us. It means that we have boundaries 100% so that we can stay stable and good, but it also doesn't mean that we cut off access to every single person that could ever bother us. If we're so strong and so well, but then the second we get triggered, we fly off the handle. Well, were we really strong and well to begin with? That doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries. Again, it doesn't mean that we don't protect ourselves and have wisdom in who we engage with. But it does mean that we have effectively, think of it as like, here's you and me in the nucleus. Our threshold of capacity to effectively not get triggered, think of it as a concentric circle around you and me. Like, I've got buffer. I have padding from other people around me because I've taken the time to know who I am. I have boundaries put up, and I'm able to engage with my family or my parents or colleagues, boss, whoever it is. And I've got the boundaries in place that I need to thus protect me, so that if I do get a little bit of pressure applied, I've got some buffer, I've got padding, I've got capacity to handle the pressure coming in without instantly getting triggered and instantly flying off the handle. Because what that means is that whoever applied the pressure, has power over us to set us off so fast and so easily. And that's our choice. We get to choose between stimulus and response is choice. That's another Viktor Frankl quote. We'll get stimulus all the time, every day. Right now, you and I are getting stimulus. I'm getting stimulus in the chat. You're getting stimulus from me. We're all having stimulus happening. And then it's our choice. Okay, now what am I going to say? How am I going to respond? So going to dinner with our parents, that in and of itself is a choice to go and attend dinner. So the stimulus is maybe an invitation to dinner in the first place. And then we get to choose how we respond. So if we're choosing to show up, but we know that every single time in the past, we've either felt like they've taken advantage of us, or maybe they really have. Well, then that's our choice. Can I show up in alignment? Can I show up and maintain peace? Can I show up and maintain who I want to be? And no one else can answer that but you. And so then the question becomes, well, how do I want my relationship to be with my parents to begin with? What do I want that dynamic to be? How do I want to engage with them? And then what's required on my part, both in terms of boundaries and also in terms of my own radical responsibility to maintain my alignment? What do I need? And so sometimes it means that, I set up a boundary of only once a month or once a quarter, or maybe I actually communicate well with them in advance that I want to avoid these topics. There's a whole manner of ways we can go about this. So really, there's so much that's dependent on the past the people involved, even the context. Like, are there some environments that feel safer when engaging with these people? When I say safer, just maybe less triggering moments, less activation. And so I think you're the only one that can answer that. But I hope that that was helpful in the sense that we have so much choice in how we show up, but we also need to consider, how do I want that dynamic to look in the first place? That doesn't always mean we'll get it, because this is a relationship and it's predicated on who they are. But if we want a relationship and they want a relationship, that's a really good place to start. And then just the manner of how we go about doing that is really, really important. And defining relationship, for example, relationship with my mom means that we talk all the time, every day. And so relationship for me means something different. And so then it's okay, then how do we kind of find ourselves in between? Sammy, I'm so glad to see you. Um, wow, I think that this might be I think that this might be from one of his nurses. God bless you. God bless your voice. Sammy is here. We are getting him ready for a transfer. Please, please know your voice does so much for Sammy. We all want to reach out to you. Wow. Sammy is a dear friend of the Knowing Show, and he first came on a couple weeks ago, and he shared when he first came on, he shared that it was the anniversary of the date that he broke his neck 2 years ago that made him a quadriplegic, and apparently he's getting transfer right now, but he's listening. So Sammy, I just want to give you a major shout out that I'm so proud of you. This whole lesson today has to do with we get to choose peace. Peace is ours. Peace is yours, Sammy. And so as you're transferring, you get to choose peace. And so we're with you and we love you. And we're just so proud of you showing up and doing the work. And y'all, this is doing the work. Sometimes doing the work is just listening to what's true, reminding ourselves of who we are and reminding ourselves of the power that we have, the power that is ours. So thank you so much for joining. Jeff, oh, from Little Malta. I went to Malta in October and it is the most beautiful country. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so, so, so happy you are here. Um, Sammy says, please know we all prayed for you since oh, wow. Sammy is so very broken with his diagnosis in life. If anyone has anything encouraging to say to Sammy, I would love to read that and offer that to Sammy as he's struggling. Sammy, I would encourage you, if you're up for it, I would encourage you to listen to music that's really encouraging. I think that there's so much in music that brings hope and brings life and joy to us. There's so much in the power of words. And so I really would encourage you to turn on music that's encouraging for you. And what I can even do, if you'd like, I can make you a playlist of music that's been encouraging to me, and I can ask my sister too. My sister's husband was killed, and she had a 3-week-old baby girl, and I can ask her for a playlist if that would be encouraging for you. I'd love to create that for you. So just let me know if you'd like that, and I'd love to do that for you. All right, just going back up to the chat. All right, just looking where I left off. Shagaboo says, God is close to the brokenhearted. He says that in Psalms. That's actually I'm so glad you said that, Shagaboo. It really is true. There's so much hope in Psalms. Psalms is written by a man named David from so long ago. And he just had a hell of a time for so many years of his life. And there was just so much agony, so much pain. And he writes from really the depths of his soul in a way that has brought hope to so many people. And so when we talk about, what allows for hope in pain is that somehow there's purpose here. And so I believe wholeheartedly that there's purpose in your pain, that somehow, some way, I'm touched by you, Sammy, and I know others here are too. And so I just hope that you can hold on to the hope that somehow there's going to be good in this for you. Chris O says, prayers for Sammy. God bless. God is the best healer. I love it. We're with you, Sammy. We love you. Just going back here. Time is, says Chris, and I don't know if you're talking to me or another. I don't know if you're calling me a nickname. Chris, says Christine. Aren't you an entrepreneurial speaker? Yes, I am. I'm an entrepreneur, and I speak on multiple podcasts and stages. But the Knowing Show is where I love showing up, and this morning show specifically is where we talk about spiritual intelligence and really aligning our mind and spirit with truth and retraining our mind to allow for us to be the ones speaking truth to ourselves and being the one that's effectively, we get to be in the driver's seat of our lives, not other people. And so this daily show in the morning is about that, where the evening show is really about cultivating emotional intelligence. And then we also talk business on there as well. So we kind of talk all things in the evening, but this morning in particular, we go through A Course in Miracles. Let me see. Oh, Shagaboo. So the lyrics. So Sammy, this might be encouraging for you, but it's encouraging for me. So I'm glad you brought this up, Shagaboo. Shagaboo put the lyrics of Amazing Grace earlier. When peace like a river attendeth our way, when sorrows like sea billows way. No, swell. What is it? When sorrows like sea billows, I don't know, rise. It is well with my soul. So that's a lyric to the song. And he says the guy who wrote those lyrics to that song after his wife and 3 daughters drowned on a ship, when he was at the exact same place where it happened, he wrote that. Chills all over my body. Whew. Wow. That's so painful. Whew. Michael, I just see what you're sharing here. And I think that there's so much allegory. There's so much allegory being offered in stories from whatever time span you kind of choose them. But I think that there's a lot there in terms of allegory. So I'm glad you brought that up, though. I think that that's important to reference. There's stories from years past. Savion says, Psalm 4:8, in peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. I love that. All right, I'm just going down to the bottom of the chat. I think I saw Christopher or Chriso. Yes. So Chriso says, thank you for sharing. I initially thought your live streams were about business and marketing. This is even better. Thank you. Chriso, I talk about, my morning show is about spiritual intelligence and the evening is about emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence. So it's really about the holistic approach to the person, and cultivating all of our intelligences. I think of it as, we've got spiritual intelligence, which is our spirit, and really cultivating that. And there's data there, and we need to teach our intelligences and learn from them as well. And so I love that you said that. Christine, why are you so driven with this strategy of yours? In terms of strategy, I'm curious, I want to make sure that I answer this right. In terms of strategy, I've got many different business strategies and brand strategies. But specifically for why we go live on the Knowing Show, why am I so driven? Man, I've experienced the brokenness and loss of love and a family and future that comes when you're not healed. And when you don't know who you are, when you don't know others, when you don't really truly know God. And I knew God for so long, but it was only when I really came to know myself that I got to know him so much more. And y'all, this is what's wild, is that he's in us. Christ is in you and me, and we are a reflection of God. And so if I'm ignoring myself, I'm ignoring a massive part of God. So we can't just go and pursue God out there in the ether. He's in us, and we are made like him. And so the more we actually take responsibility to come to know who we are, we get to know the creator all the more we know the created. So that's been just such a wild and eye-opening pursuit over the last 4 years that, man, it's just, there's been so much that has been revealed to me, and so much light, like life is so much brighter, so much bigger because of the inner work. And y'all, we all get to do the inner work, regardless of where we find ourselves physically in the world, regardless of our health, regardless of our business or work or job status or where we live. we get to cultivate the inner work. Every single one of us has a soul. Every single one of us has a spirit. Every single one of us has a mind. And so then the question is, who do we want to be? How do we want to show up? What are we called to do? And there's purpose in the pain. And there's always access to peace, no matter what. And so with that, I am going to go ahead and jump off. Jeff Adams, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining. Viking Lloyd, good to see you. Sammy says, please know you're a star, Sammy, and your voice, and you talking or taking the time for us to talk about Sammy does so very much, and we want you to know your voice helps. Thank you so much. Guys, I can't even tell you, Sammy and Sammy's nurses, it means so much to me that you're here. So thank you. It's so meaningful. This is why, y'all, this is why we're all here. We're all here together to move through life, to encourage each other, challenge each other, to bring hope to one another. There's so much goodness, so much meaning. And man, we're all here for a reason. So with that, thank you so much for joining. Remember today's lesson. I am going to pull that back up really fast. I think I closed it out when I pulled up Victor Phil's quote. So let me pull that back up. Actually, no, I've got it right here. All right, let's see. Today's lesson is, I want to say it right. I could see peace instead of this. We get to choose what we see. What's the lens that we choose to view the world through? And before I jump off, with that in mind, I'm going to reread Viktor Frankl's quote. So bear with me while I pull that up, because I think both of these, the lesson today, I could choose to see peace in this, or I guess not even or, just backed by what he says here. The last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And there were always choices to make, every day, every hour, offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you become the plaything to circumstance, renouncing freedom and dignity. We have the choice. We have the choice of peace. And so with that, I hope you have such a wonderful day. I will be live again tonight. Let me check my calendar. I will be live tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And I think I have another show. I have another show today at 11:30 a.m. No, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, with, although it looks like that was just canceled. So I might just be going live tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you then. Thanks, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Remember, you get to choose peace, which is the greatest of all human freedoms.